In this lecture, I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about foreshortening and how you can apply it to your drawings to make them look more dynamic and more realistic even. This can be applied to cartoon drawings as well, not just realistic drawings, but it's a very important skill to learn. Every artist should learn how to do it. So I'm going to be using cylinders for these examples, and I'm going to show you how to use these basic geometrical shapes to organize your drawing and to be able to add your specific unique detailed figure, whether it's an arm or a leg, into that shape, but using it as a guideline. Okay, so what foreshortening is perspective, essentially. So it's the appearance of an object tilting away from you into perspective, and one edge of the object appearing closer to the eye than the other. So a cylinder from the side just looks like a rectangle, right? Even though the edges of it are circles. So that would be a direct profile view. This is not foreshortened at all. This is not foreshortened. So a foreshortened cylinder would appear like this. So you see, well, you wouldn't see the direct face on, but you would see an ellipse, and you would see it like this. So you can see that it's pointing, I guess if you want to think about it, towards the back of the page more so. So the see-through would be kind of like this, and you see that this face I drew smaller than this face, so that pushes the perspective as well in your foreshortening. As well, you want to think about the vanishing point of your shapes. So in this we have parallel sides, right? Nothing's going into the distance. But on my foreshortened object, both of my sides start to converge towards an imaginary vanishing point to the horizon. So that's how it would be in perspective. Now, how we can apply this to a figure, I'm going to do an arm, for example. So I'm going to draw some cylinders here, and I'm going to draw an arm in profile, and then I'm going to slightly distort it so it is being foreshortened. So an arm in profile, I'm just going to draw two cylinders interlocking, right, like this, and then we have our hand here. But the one being foreshortened is going to be a bit different. So it's going to be more like this, right? And when it's not super exaggerated even there, we can exaggerate it a bit more. Right, and so here it's obviously a bit more exaggerated, and you have to think about the fact that you are drawing on a two-dimensional surface. We're not actually creating some kind of 3D model. We are taking what we know in our mind and representing it just using lines on a 2D surface to make it look three-dimensional. So you just have to remember a few of the core rules that I'm talking about here. and you want to just use those. And you don't want to try and reinvent the wheel here. You just want to memorize, as uninteresting as that sounds, you want to memorize the rules. And if you're drawing anatomy, for example, you need to memorize the muscles. You need to look at your favorite artists. I learned a lot from comic book artists and how because they represent human anatomy exceptionally well and very dynamically, and they have found ways to make it look the coolest and most interesting, I find. So I literally would copy their drawings, as closely as I possibly could, and didn't try to take anything out of my own mind. Like, I just copied directly onto my page what they had, so I could figure out what exactly it was that they were doing. So I'm going to do another layer here with some muscles. And when you start to play with the perspective of things, it starts to change the way that you draw the structures of your muscles. Now, this isn't really a course about anatomy. There are a few anatomy lectures that I've provided for you in this course, but I'm just really trying to get you to start learning how to think about it and just kind of dipping your toe in. Okay, so we want to start with the football shapes when we're drawing anatomy in muscles. They're really just like interlocking shapes for the most part. Right, and this really just comes down to like just having done it a zillion times, the fact that I'm able to do it so fast. And it really comes down to a lot of practice. So don't be discouraged. It really comes down to memorization. It's like learning a song or something like that. If you play piano or if you play music, it's a lot of it's realization or memorization, and that's going to help you make it more melodic, you're able to make the notes flow. If you don't have these things memorized, it's going to take you a long time and it's not going to sound as good. Right, so we can see now how the foreshortening is changing the way that we are like viewing the object. These are just quick, but I'm just doing it to illustrate for you how it affects. Right? And remember, the cone, or the cylinder, is really the underlying structure of these arms, and it's a really guiding my pencil in its action. So it's extremely important, and it really affects the size of my hand. How in this one it's a lot smaller than this one here. It affects the size relationships of these cylinders to each other, even though in this one they are the same size. And if you watch the human anatomy lecture using sticky bones, I show you that you want to do your human figure with proper proportions. Your upper arm and lower arm are the same length. So in this case, my cylinders are approximately the same length. So those are the types of things you want to think about when foreshortening. So try and copy what I've done here, and even apply it to different things. It can be applied to any object, not just arms, legs, bodies. This is going to really help you when trying to draw figures and make them look dynamic and pop off the page. Alright, that's it for this lecture. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.